Welcome to Coach's Corner, man. And we have a special guest with us tonight, Isaiah Martinez. Welcome, Coach.
Awesome.
One half of the National California Kids Tag Team with Jesse Delgado. Four-time Big Ten champion, four-time NCAA finals, two-time NCAA champ. And do you know what time of the year it is? It is Isaiah Martinez time. It is Big Tens and NCAA time where you made your living. That's why we got you on, Isaiah. Welcome to the show.
Brian, Greg, I'm super excited to be on. Happy to be talking to you guys. It's the best time of year right now.
Yeah, well, we have coined the phrase, right? Isaiah time, Isaiah Martinez time. That's it. That's what it's coined, right? And so we're going to pick your brain here for the next 15, 20 minutes before Greg dives into his clips, because that's Greg's specialty, man. He finds special videos. We're going to let you walk us through this. But, talk about how special this time of the year is for you, Isaiah, and what this time meant for you when it came rolling around. As a wrestler first, and then we'll get into now how you're taking that message and talking to the kids about it.
Right. So, like you said, it's literally the best time of year as a collegiate wrestler. I mean, when I was going through my time here, the season was awesome, right? Racking up that experience, racking up wins. But after our last competition of the regular season, things kind of switched. Like the air kind of changed around when March hit, right? It was the postseason, right? You could win every single match in the regular season, right? But it all comes down to the postseason, right? The national championship and the Big Tens. So for me, it was what we live for as wrestlers. And as a coach, I try to preach to these guys like, hey, you got to be excited right now. Everyone's nervous. It is postseason, and it is, there is pressure that comes along with, the postseason qualifying, trying to get on that podium, right? But you just got to love it, and you got to enjoy the time of the year.
With that being said, right, like, so you're coming in as a freshman, right? And you're walking into the Big Ten tournament. You win the Big Ten tournament. So you're walking in as a high seed into the NCAA tournament as a freshman. And walk us through that experience as a freshman on the biggest stage, with an opportunity of like, hey, I'm going to win this thing, right? I'm going to win this thing. So, what was going through your mind, for your first NCAA tournament?
Well, I'll be honest, and I tell my guys this all the time, is I built up so much confidence that first year. I was undefeated during the regular season, so I had a lot of momentum going into the national championships, into the Big Tens, and I found myself incredibly nervous when I walked out to the NCAA's, out to that mat for my first match. Right, I was very, very nervous, and I think everyone kind of feels that way, right? I was nervous for, the first 30 seconds of that match. And I kind of pulled it back in and said, and reminded myself, what I do out there. So I was super nervous for that first national championship. But once I got going, I kind of reminded myself of my confidence, the work that I put in. And I was so hungry, to get on that podium, to be a national championship. Everything was brand new. It was the very first time I was there. And being, at the time, very young, in terms of experience in college wrestling, I was so excited and happy to be there. Everything was new, and everything kind of, worked out for the best, right? Even in that national finals, like it worked out for the best, finished the year undefeated, and, had a story year.
And now I'm going to jump ahead. We're still on Isaiah's, wrestling hat here. So now you're going into the second one. And you said that the first one was fun. Now are you feeling more pressure for the second one, that you are a national champion and coming into this one? And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think maybe you had one loss going into that national NCAA tournament as a sophomore?
Yeah, I had one loss going into the national championships my sophomore year, for sure.
Yeah, and so you're walking into that second tournament. You're defending national champ. And now is it still the same fun, or is it more pressure now, right?
Well, I think as you get older, right, once you gain a little bit of perspective on your career, you kind of figure out that, the pressure is what you kind of put on yourself. But I think at the time, for sure, I was like, as much as you try to avoid, having like an attachment to like your past titles or your past record or anything like that and just be free and wrestle as hard as you possibly can. Sometimes it is inevitable. So I definitely did feel a little bit of that pressure. I mean, one of the things that, again, I rely back on my experience, that sophomore year. At the Big Tens that year, I had a 25-minute triple OT match with Jason Nolf, right? And I ended up winning that Big Ten championship finals match on criteria. And it was a knockout, drag out kind of match, right? It was just a real gritty match. And so going into the national championships and even that finals match, I had that confidence that, man, if it went, the entire way, I was going to find a way to win again. So I had that confidence, even though I did feel a little bit of pressure. I was able to pull back on my experience. I've been here before. I've done this before. Just rely on your training.
Now let's take a step back and we'll ask you to put your coaching hat on here. You guys have an extremely young team, right? Very, very young team. A handful of these guys are walking into their first NCAA, first Big Ten tournament,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of these guys are underdogs, right? So what is the message, for these guys this week as you guys prepare to depart for Maryland, and where do you feel you guys are at, heading into Maryland?
So I think the overall message, we do have a really young team, and we have some guys that are a little bit older. So, yeah, man, like I said before, it's always a little nerve-wracking, right? Going into the postseason, for these athletes. We try to just tell them to shift the focus on from the pressure to going out there and competing, going out there to beat your opponent, going out there to score points, shifting that focus from, oh man, this is postseason, there's so much pressure, to now the focus is on, it's one match at a time. Go out there and compete as hard as you possibly can. Go out there to beat your opponent, go out there to score points. So, focusing on them just being aggressive and not tentative, going out there and letting it fly. I think it kind of shifts their focus a little bit from the pressure to just getting back to what makes a fun match, a fun wrestler, right? Just going out and competing. And so if they go out and compete and they wrestle as hard as they possibly can, we as coaches could never be upset with them. And good things are going to happen if they let themselves compete freely.
Isaiah, I wanted to ask you about first off, Ed Ruth. When he was with the team, he was known for his cradles. We
Mm-hmm.
saw a bunch of those cradles at the Zingo Nationals. We saw some last year with the Brawn Eagles. They used cradles. You are known for the underhook.
Mm-hmm.
Who is going to be the underhook bearer in the years to come? Edmund Ruth? Anyone else?
Well, I think Edmund kind of fit the mold right away with those double unders. So right as of right now, I mean, he's probably one of the best guys with that underhook. Who's going to hold the mantle? I hope all these guys kind of absorb and like learn, how to do underhooks. I think it's kind of my bread and butter that I relied on in college, and it's something that I truly believe worked and helped me later on in my senior level career. So I don't know who's going to hold the mantle. I hope they all use it. Zach Braunhagel's got a phenomenal underhook. Again, back to Edmund, he's got those double unders that he does a really good job with. So, who knows? Whoever adapts to it and finds comfort with it, they'll use it successfully.
Who are you working with particularly in getting ready for the Big Tens? And do you guys divide up the athletes amongst yourself, amongst the coaches?
Right. So we do. As we're getting closer, or as we're getting closer to this Big Ten championships, we have kind of narrowed it down a little bit, and it kind of fits into natural slots, right? I work with mostly the upper weight wrestlers. We have Austin and Mike wrestling with the middleweights, and we have Jeremy with the lightweights. And so yeah, so generally I'm working more so with the upper weights, the middle upper weights, and 74, 84, 97, and heavyweight. Right. But throughout the entire season, we kind of, all as coaches, kind of add to each of, the wrestler styles. We don't kind of narrow it down by weight class. as the year goes on. So we kind of all throw our stuff in there, and really it comes down to, the individual athlete, their wrestling style and what they feel comfortable and confident in doing. So that's kind of how we break it down.
And now you just recently had you had seeds come out for the Big Tens, and now
Mm-hmm.
you have some likely matchups. Are you guys starting to look at film now? What's going on with that?
Yeah, we're definitely looking at film, right? Since the seeds have been out, we're kind of, I think all coaches across the country, right? Once those seeds come out, you kind of look at the matchups, look who's potentially going to be there, just to help your guys prepare as good as you can. I was a big film watcher when I was an athlete. Um, in terms of, an individual athlete, sometimes guys adapt well to watching a lot of film and wanting to know everything about their opponent. I was a little bit like that, right? I like to know what I was walking into when I was wrestling. Some guys, they don't like to have all that information, right? So it is a balance, and for sure we're watching film and preparing our guys.
You got a couple guys seated, right? So you got the little guys, Magical and Pacino. And then, one of your guys, Edmund Ruth that you're working with, he's at that 174-pound weight class, and there's some uncertainty, right? Is Carter Starocki gonna make it to the Big Tens, or is he just gonna show up? And Edmund's kind of sitting in a really nice spot at 4, especially if Starocki doesn't make it, right? Like I don't know, it's a coin flip. You don't want to bet against the Penn State guys not showing up, but even if he doesn't show up, he's still going to be the number 1 or 2 seed for the NCAA tournament. So, what's the thought process with Edmund going into this tournament, and where do you see him ending up? Because, Greg and I think he can make the finals.
Right. I mean, I think Edmund Ruth is probably one of the best wrestlers in the country when he wants to wrestle as hard as he possibly can. Right. He has all the ability in the world. And for him, the way I kind of approach it is like, you got to be prepared for, the worst case scenario. You can't cross your fingers and hope so and so doesn't wrestle, or this guy goes down, or all these different things. You just want him to be mentally prepared, excited to compete, and just kind of ready for the small stuff, right? He's the kind of kid that marches to the beat of his own drum a little bit, which I like, because I kind of did that too when I was an athlete. So as long as he's feeling confident, we're not looking for anybody to drop out or anything like that. And yeah, man, if he wants to, I think he can win a Big Ten championship. If he's ready to go. So we're excited for him, and we're looking forward to that, and all our guys, right? I mean, the Big Ten is it's the premier conference, and it's a meat grinder of a tournament. And it's so exciting. If again, we talked about a little bit of the pressure of these guys competing in the postseason. But again, one of the things that I tell them is, you have to let your excitement about the opportunity to compete override that feeling of pressure or that nervousness. If you focus on what a blessing, what an opportunity, it's not a typical experience that most people get to experience. Competing in the best conference against the toughest guys in the country, and then going on in the postseason and being, at the national championships. The NCAA's is, in my opinion, probably the best show in terms of production and fan service and everything like that. Like the NCAA championships, it's so exciting to be a part of. And we try to get these guys to understand that you only have 4 or 5 years. Well, maybe not so much with COVID and everything, but you only have a limited time to compete, right? And so you got to enjoy this time of year.
I'm gonna put my coach's hat on once, and for a minute, and what I always would tell the kids is, you have 1 year to do this, right? And that's the year you're competing, because next year is not given. You never know what's going to happen. So, to your point is, like, it's a great tournament. It's also the Big Ten is also in our eyes a preview for what the podium is going to look like, right? You touched on it and said, hey, it's a meat grinder, it's a tough tournament, and so if you can get through this tournament, on the podium, then you got a really chance at the NCAA tournament to get a high seed and be there, and what is the message in that standpoint of, hey, maybe we don't come out on top on the Big Tens, but we still got a chance to get on that podium in the NCAAs?
And right. And so that's looking a little bit, that's having, a broader perspective on it, right? Is yeah, we want to win every single match, we go out to wrestle, right? We want to have 10 Big Ten champions, right? Individual champions. But if some of these guys fall short of, being a Big Ten champion or, being in the finals, what have you, at the end of the day, the Big Ten championships, it's just a stepping stone to the national championships. Everything comes down to those 3 days in March, right, to get on that podium. So if, some of the guys fall short of their goals at the Big Tens, it's not that big of a deal in the broader perspective of it, because they got another tournament that is worth, all the marbles.
Well, that's a great perspective, and that's the message too, right? And you look at the seeding, and then you look at the allocations for the NCAA tournament, and how many come out of the Big Ten compared to other conferences. That has to be the message. When you're looking at the Big Tens, and you go look at Big 12s and see, weight class the Big Ten has 9 or 10, and Big 12 has 3. That's just a great indication for the guys of what kind of conference they wrestle in. And, when they make it to the NCAA tournament, like you said, it's even more so let it fly because, you have the toughest season and toughest schedule during the year. But you know what? We're going to take your coach's hat off for a little bit, and we're gonna get more onto the 3 is the new 2 podcast and why Greg gets the clips up. We're going to play the clips. There's going to be no sound. We're going to ask you to walk us through the clips, but I'm going to introduce them. But before we get started, we have to see how you do the new 3. How do you do 3? So far, Coach Medlin's in the leader house with the best new 3. So we have to see how Isaiah does it. And please, don't give Zane Richards the international credit. He's like going out and trying to, hey, do my 3. So what is it, Isaiah? Show us your 3.
So usually I try to be a little more reserved because several times this year I have yelled out 2 and then realized immediately, oh wait, no, it's 3. So usually, I'm a little bit more quiet with it. I'm like, that's 3. I'll go like that.
Let me see. We got to see it on camera. We got to see the fingers. This is
how
I do it.
With the okay sign. I go, that's 3. I really haven't thought about it that much, man.
This is Coach Medlin's 3, right? Because only Coach Medlin, this is Coach Medlin's 3. Only he can pull this off, right? But we're going to queue up the clips. We're going to do the 3 is 2 new podcast in the coach's corner. And, this is the fun part for you, man. So we're going to take your coach's hat off. Greg's going to queue up the clips. The first clip we have is from the first NCAA final. You're attempting to secure a takedown against Brian Rotundo. You decide to spin around, grab your ankles and force a scramble, or a stalemate. So we're going to play the clip. We're going to have you walk us through it. We're going to take you down a trip down memory lane, Isaiah, right? Well, here it is, Isaiah. Walk us through it.
Right. So in this finals match, could you pause it real quick?
Yeah.
Greg?
Maybe. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So going into this match, especially even when I was younger, I had a lot more, movement to my wrestling, right? I was up and down, really, really aggressive. Okay. So Brian was, pretty difficult to open up as a wrestler. So at the beginning of this clip, right, I'm trying to fight for the inside control. I'm looking to catch him off balance. And once my hands get set, I start to pull that trigger on firing off this knee pull. Okay. And so could you press play on the video? Right. So I get to that knee pull, or actually, could you back it up? Sorry about that, Greg.
Greg, man, he's testing your video skills. I love it. I love this.
So fighting hard, my hands get set. I hit that knee pull. We're right on the edge of the mat. Okay. And so at this time, there was no like out of bounds rules or anything like that. And so a lot of times the out of bounds was kind of a safe haven under these rules. So he drags me down off that knee pull and my hands get split. Now, Brian was a very good scrambler. And so instead of, trying to, maybe get out of bounds, I think he was looking to create a scramble there and capitalize. And so when my hands were split, my forehead was on the mat. Okay. I think I kind of felt him loading up for that little spin there. And usually on that spin there, you either try to catch the far ankle or the hip. Okay, so as I felt him load up to try to spin, all I was thinking, and this is more of a feel thing, right? Is I was gonna stay, I was gonna stay out and follow him as he went through, and so he was not able to, catch my hip or catch my ankle, and he left himself open, for me to finish the takedown. So one more time, I could probably point it out.
No, no.
Well,
Did you practice this, Isaiah? You knew this was kind of a situation where he was good at, and you guys worked on this, or it just fell into this, just based on the feel for when you walk through it.
Right. So, um, I think one, like I said before, it was more of a feel kind of thing. But the way you develop that feel is by being put into that situation in practice, right? Maybe on a low level single hand split, forehead on the mat, right? And then you guys are sparring there, going live, right? Because you develop a feel for kind of the counters there. And like I said, he dragged me down with that whizzer. My hands are split. So he starts loading up to go for that spin. I feel that spin loading up. I pull my hips through and I kind of stay with them, which he didn't catch that hip, which exposed him for, me to collect both legs. So, uh, for one, yes, you kind of, learn to wrestle there by being put in that situation in practice, but it's more of a feel kind of thing. Like there's no name for, this position.
Well, I think if you're asking us to slow it down, and we'll get to the second clip here, but the best part of that is watching Rob Cole in the corner jump up, it's like, hey, I think we got him, and then sit right back down, like, no, there it is, right?
Right. And so it is about, so that position, a lot of times guys get caught there because, again, my hands were split, my forehead was on the mat, and I was below the knee. I was not in great position. And a lot of times guys who were in on that single leg, they stop wrestling there. They stop wrestling because they're not in great position and they're hoping the guy will just, hope for the stalemate or kick out of bounds. Okay. It's a guy who continues to wrestle in that position and doesn't wrestle for that stalemate, that's going to win that position.
Well, Greg, let's get to the clip number 2 here. And that's for your first Big Ten tournament finals. You have an unusual finish to a single leg, against Dylan Ness. We're going to ask you to walk us through that as Greg cues it up. And then, don't trip down memory lane, man. We're not going to let
I'm
you get off
excited.
easy,
Yeah.
Coach.
You guys are going to be shocked by this one, though.
Hey, having you on is shocking enough, right? So
right. So like I said, back then the rule, my motion was a little bit different. I was a little bit less refined, or a lot less refined than I was later on in my career. So, just hitting a snatch single here, and instead of trying to cut it back, right, I just what's up, Mike? I literally tried to
pressure's on. Don't mess up, Isaiah.
So when I'm in on this snatch single, usually you kind of have a feel there. Either you cut it back, you get your head on the outside. But when I was this young, I kind of just felt him. I was like, I'm going to try to treetop it or something. And when I went to elevate that leg or to treetop it, he started jumping up towards my head. So in the clip, it looks like I deadlifted him up by his leg, but he kind of helped me by trying to jump over my head for that elevator or that gator bacon, whatever. He was trying to set it up. Okay, so I was able to actually get really high altitude with that because he jumped up and helped me a little bit. And once I felt him do that, I'm like, obviously guys get caught in that elevator, that gator bacon, when they panic. Okay. So as I'm lifting him, I'm like, I'm going to put him down as hard as I possibly can on his hip and just try to double off. Right. I'm not going to mess around with this guy because he is dangerous. So I pick him up. He gets up in the air, and I'm like, I got to spike him. Now, I didn't think he was going to get spiked that hard, and potentially that was an illegal move, but it worked out for the best. Got the takedown, and it looks super sweet on highlights.
Well, Greg is awesome at finding these highlights, but we asked Coach Mike to jump on here real quick for a few minutes and interrupt our little
Isaiah,
podcast
I
here.
promise this was not my idea. It was theirs. I love you. I love hopping on, but All right,
Yeah,
let's
but
do it,
but
guys.
two things, right? So what Coach Mike told us was that he's pretty instrumental in your two NCAA championships, 4 Big Ten titles, because you gained confidence wrestling with him in practice when he was there as a coach. And you know, he probably felt that slam on Jason Ness. So we want to dig that out of you. And then we have one
Wait,
little
Brian,
last thing.
I gotta clarify that though. I didn't get here until Isaiah's senior year. But Isaiah's senior year and when he was preparing for Jordan Burroughs, yes, how badly he whooped my ass absolutely gave him a confidence booster. And it wasn't even like the coach where you got to be like, all right, give him a few to give him confidence. No, I was just trying to survive. There were no freebies,
which
and he got a
which
lot of them.
I greatly appreciate. Now it's something that I understand now as a coach that I didn't quite understand as an athlete. Is like, man, I had no remorse. I was just trying to score as many takedowns as I possibly could. Now it's something, now that I'm a little bit on the reverse side of that is coaching these guys and, having to wrestle with some of these, really elite level wrestlers. Sometimes I'm like, I'm not afraid to wrestle them, but I understand, kind of what was going through, Mike's head at the time.
Well, before we
Wait,
let Mike go,
I do want to say this story really quick. And Isaiah's heard this a million times. But there was a wrestler on the team early on when I got here as the assistant coach. And I would say, I mean, Isaiah always put it on me. But like once in a while, I could sneak in like a score. And I felt I went home with so much confidence. I would pull the film and watch it 100 times if I snuck in a score. But someone on the team asked Isaiah, who would have won, you or Poeta, like in college? And the kid said that I would have won. And that kid did not do me any service here, because then from that day forward, Isaiah was just cementing how much better he was than me. Like it changed. It went to like an extra level.
and don't forget, Isaiah, now he's your boss, right?
Yeah. So I like to amend that story a little bit. I think from the outside looking in, it kind of appears like that. But I think that was just kind of my temperament at the time, right? Is I was aggressive and I was competitive. So yeah, it was not a personal thing. I was just like I wanted to get as good as I possibly could.
Well, that's a great answer to your boss, right? That's a perfect answer. But one last thing before we turn Mike off here, there's talk like who has the best tattoo, right? Isaiah Martinez, Coach Poeta, or maybe it's me. I don't know. So come on, Isaiah. Let me see that arm tattoo, right? Let me. We need to see it.
No,
Oh no, Brian! What I think's better, real quick, Isaiah.
Yeah.
What I think's better. With his arm tattoo, Isaiah's nuts with that one. But Isaiah's Illinois tattoo on his ankle is the coolest Illinois wrestling tattoo I've ever seen by far, and I'm jealous of it. And I wish I was a lot younger and could have seen Isaiah's first and gotten his.
Right, and so
can we
I'm
see it or
proud.
what? Can we see
I'll
it?
show you right
it?
now, but I'll give you a little story on it. So, like
okay.
A handful of Illinois wrestlers, is kind of a thing. Once you graduate, some of us would get, Illinois wrestling tattoos. So when it was my turn, to graduate, there was no doubt in my mind, right? I'm gonna get an Illinois wrestling tattoo, right? Like I was Illinois all the way, orange and blue. And so I had a great artist that helped put a great piece together, and yeah, I'm super proud of the way it looks. So it's on my ankle.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to lift up my leg, show you guys some skin.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see this, man.
How are we gonna do this?
Okay.
So I don't know if you guys can see it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Kind of Illinois wrestling with
that's cool.
The chief in the back. So something that a lot of us, Illinois wrestlers are super proud of. And again, I don't endorse, inking up your body, even though I have a bunch of tattoos. But yeah, it's something that, I was super excited to get. And I think I got the coolest one. So super proud of that.
I had the tattoo story a little mixed up, right? So I went out and made sure I could be part of this tattoo video. So I just want you to know that I have my Isaiah Martinez tattoo here, right? So what do you think, man? I'm just
That's
missing
nice.
the top.
You need the circle, yeah.
Yeah, I still got it,
circle
right?
completes it.
We had to put it on you, Coach. But man, Mike, you're more than welcome to stay. But we asked Mike to come on and surprise you, Isaiah. He is your boss and a longtime friend, and you guys are doing great things in Illinois. Mike, you want to stay, great. If you want to sign off, perfect. But tell Isaiah, if you are going to sign up, at least sign off and give him something before you leave.
Well, I'll just say one story about the tattoo thing. So, myself, Jimmy Kennedy, and John Wise, it was 3 All-Americans our senior year. We went and got these tattoos. There was another guy, Jake Norman, with us. But Jimmy is the toughest out of all of us. Jimmy is like the toughest mother effer ever. But we went one at a time and got the tattoos. And I went first, and I could not believe how painful it was. Like, I do not care, like, sounding like a wuss. Anybody that says it doesn't hurt, then you didn't get it in a spot where it's like excruciating. But I got mine, then John Wise gets his. We're standing outside. The tattoo artist goes to do Jimmy Kennedy's. And about 10 seconds later, the tattoo artist walks outside and that was supposed to do Jimmy's and is smoking a cigarette. And John Wise and I are like, what happened? He goes, oh, he just passed out. So about 5 seconds into Jimmy's, he just completely collapsed in the chair. And they had to wait for him to not look green anymore and have normal color before they could start again.
Oh, that's great. Well, you guys,
but I'll let you you guys get with Isaiah. I mean, obviously he's got what he has personally is an amazing story, information, everything. So I'll sign off. I don't want to get in the way.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey,
We'll talk to you after Maryland. Best of luck.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Awesome, man. We had to get your boss on, Isaiah. We had to get him on, man. Surprise you a little bit.
So he is my
great.
boss, but I do consider him a good friend as well. So, and a former coach of mine. So, Mike's awesome.
Well, Greg's got an interesting clip for you. A surprise clip. We always surprise our guests.
All right,
right?
surprise clip. Let's go.
There's no sound. So you have to tell us what's happening here, but Greg can find things. And this is a little surprise for you. And then we have a couple little questions to end with. And
oh no, what do we got? Greg, what do we got? Oh wow, yeah. State finals, my sophomore year. I was wrestling 140 against Nicholas Cano. Just a brawl of a match, right? And yeah, so we were just slugging it out. He scores a quick takedown. I've kind of always done that hip over, even when I was young. It started even before high school, right? So I'm trying to cut him back there. He slips behind. Not very. This is. We're just scrapping. So he covers. I walk my hips out. His hips are way back, and so this is kind of a feel thing, right? You feel kind of the looseness and the pressure. With this hip over, and yeah, I hipped over. He wasn't able to follow me, and as we came up to our feet, I came up with an underhook, hit a knee pick, and finished for 2, right on the edge. So I went to Lemoore High School, and so kind of something that we used to do for the postseason, and a lot of people do this stuff for the postseason, right? Is they dye their hair, and that year I had bleach blonde hair, so. Showing some of the roots there.
Well, yeah. I have a dyed hair story to tell you, right? And you can probably ask Mike this, but it goes back before Mike. So I was down at the state tournament in 1987, dating myself as a 98-pound wrestler. And I was the first person to dye their hair at the state tournament. Not only did I dye my hair, I wrestled for Andrew, which was a Thunderbolts, and I had black Thunderbolts in my hair. So Hector Gomez back in the day said, you're the first person to dye their hair, and everyone started doing it. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's supposedly an IHSA claim to fame. So that's my claim to fame, not state titles, Big Ten titles, or national titles, but the dye your hair thing, right?
Hey, you're an original. So no one could prove that one. So you should take that one to the bank.
Yeah. Hey, Greg, I have one more thing, and then I'll let you jump in here. What your freshman year at the California State Tournament, you wrestled an Illinois great for the second time during the season.
Yeah. So that's awesome. During my freshman year at Lemoore, I wrestled at 125 pounds. And there was this guy in the bracket at the weight class in California. He wrestled at Gilroy High School. His name was Jesse Delgado, ended up being a 2-time. So me and Jesse were at the same weight class. My freshman year, it was his senior year, 125. at the beginning of the season, I kind of get off to a hot streak. I ended up winning. Reno TOC was undefeated. He was on the other side of the bracket at a couple weeks later at the Doc Buchanan. And we end up meeting in the finals of the Doc B, right? And I'm undefeated, and Jesse's a returning state champion. Okay, and so I go into that match with a lot of confidence, obviously knowing that Jesse is really good, and Jesse just kind of put it on me, right? It was one of the first times I wrestled a match in high school where I was like, I was not really in that match. The score wasn't, crazy out of control, but he put it on me. So Jesse gave me my very first loss I ever had in high school. And then, the season goes on. We make the state championship. We're in different sections. We end up both losing on the front side of the state championship bracket. And we're put on opposite sides of the consolation bracket. And we both make it to the third and fourth place match. And me and Jesse have not wrestled since that Doc Buchanan finals match. And we wrestle for third and fourth. And I end up, kind of flipping, the score and, kind of putting it on him a little bit for third and fourth. And so I always joke with him and, other people. I'm like, Jesse gave me my very first loss in high school, and I gave him his very last loss in high school. So not to be harsh. I mean, he's one of my best friends. He was my roommate in college. And so love Jess to death. But during that year, he was one of the main guys that I was always trying to beat. It's a small world, and we end up being teammates and having super successful careers later on down the line.
He made a note when he was on to let us know that he's one of the very few people in the country without a losing record against you.
You were 1-1.
Yeah. He's pretty proud of that too.
He's funny, man.
Greg, you want to jump in here?
Yeah, I want to jump back to your tattoo, specifically the arm tattoo, because I think it's kind of the best ever. But I have some questions about it. Our comedy team wrote up a couple things for you to answer. For example, did your wife marry you because of your tattoo?
I like to believe so. Besides the other, qualities, I think it was really that armband tattoo that did that, pushed her over the edge. So, yeah, Greg, I really do believe that was the reason.
Okay, well, how old is that tattoo now? And can you tell us?
Yeah, so I got it in the summer of 2015, I want to say. And it was excruciating to get. It just, obviously it's solid black ink, and it covers, a large part of my arm. And so this was my second tattoo that I ever got. But the experience that I had going and getting this done was, like Mike said, like anybody that says that tattoos don't hurt, or they have no idea they're lying. They have no idea what they're talking about. So this tattoo took so long, and this artist is just scraping this black ink on my arm, and it's the middle of summer in Illinois, so it's humid and it's hot, and it was an experience in its own to get.
So let me ask you this: your tattoo or Chuck Norris? Who's gonna win?
Oh, that's a good question. I can't bet against Chuck, but I know the truth. The tattoo wins.
Hey, I have a quick stat for you, and I'm sure you know the stat, but maybe it hasn't been said enough. So your coach was Coach Heffernan, and he is the first four-time Big Ten champion to coach a four-time Big Ten champion as we head into Big Ten champion week.
Right, and so yeah, man, it was Coach Heff was a four-time Big Ten champion. I think we might be the only, duo that won 4 Big Ten championships, which is, pretty incredible, right? I like it. I feel like that's it's difficult to win. I mean, the most difficult, right, is to win your 4 national championships. But you'd be surprised how incredibly difficult it is to get 4 Big 10 championships. So it's something I'm proud of, and it's a record that I love to share with Coach Half. It's statistical, freak of nature.
Did he remind you that he was the first 4-time before you, that he was the first one to do it?
No, actually, Half. He's so
Yeah.
humble about everything. But yeah, every now and then, Half, sometimes, as he was, getting, older in his, coaching career, sometimes the guys, couldn't believe, that, some of the things he was able to accomplish, in that 80s era for Iowa. And he would have to give sometime, he'd have to give guys a little bit of a fill sometimes. He was still, even at 50 years old, was pretty lightning quick sometimes with his misdirection. So yeah, no, I mean, Hef is awesome.
If there's one slice of pizza left, does it go to your wife? Does it go to you? Or does it go to your tattoo?
It goes to my daughter now.
Yeah, perfect answer.
She sees the tattoo, everything. So it goes to my daughter.
It's great having you, man.
No, I appreciate it, guys. It was awesome. It was awesome being on, and yeah, we got a big weekend ahead of us. And the guys are ready, and we're excited to compete. I can't wait to get out there. We're actually leaving tomorrow morning, so it's going to be a good weekend. And this is awesome. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Take care, Coach.
Safe travels. Have a great evening.
Thank you, guys.